Hey everyone, welcome back. I can't wait to dive into this super cool topic today because if you're anything like me, you've probably found your way around YouTube looking up things like alpha wave, like study music videos, or maybe solfeggios. We even have some of that material on our own channel, right? You've probably found some interest in this. We get a lot of questions about why and how this works. And so we just wanted to take a few minutes today to kind of come together, chat about the science of these frequencies and what they do to our brain when we're enjoying them, and then share maybe a couple experiences. Like Reese, you probably have a bunch of times you've listened. I've listened to a bunch of them as well. And just sort of bring it back so that you feel empowered when you're on YouTube, or maybe you're on Spotify, right? You're listening to like some sort of music channel and you really want to get into a certain zone. There are ways that you can get into that zone a little bit better than others. So I'm so excited. Welcome, Reese.
I'm so excited too. I think it's so interesting, the science of the music that we're listening to, the lyrics that are in it, which we're going to talk about next week, what the frequencies are doing to our body, and even how I've seen in some situations how frequencies can support healing. So I'm really excited for our conversation today.
Yeah. Oh, me too. And just so you know, just to tease it, this is probably going to be a two-parter video because there's so much to talk about, like in this realm. And so for today, let's spend a few minutes just trying to get, I guess, like a little foundation together, so we feel like, okay, that's why it's working. And then next week, I'd love to talk about that, and maybe also like other things that come up. People ask all the time about listening to music sort of passively, the way that it affects us subliminally. All of it's related. But yeah, so today, that sounds so fun. Focusing on frequency, the thing that I want to kind of bring our mind to first and foremost is this term you've probably heard called entrainment. And that's like the main mechanism by which a lot of the frequencies actually physiologically affect us. But what's happening here is that there's this universal mechanism that humans and some other animals have where we do something where we tend to match the perceived frequency that we're receiving with our own brainwave signals, right? We tend to synchronize, in other words, with these frequencies. We do this because of something that's found in our species called the FFR, or the frequency following response, where we're picking this up and we just tend to kind of resonate with that frequency, right? When we're talking about things like affecting our physiology, there's multiple ways it can happen. For this week, just focusing on the brain, I think, is exciting enough. But one thing that happens is that we do have these 5 predominant brainwave states that you're probably familiar with, right? And each of these is associated with its own band of frequencies. And we know that when we are engaged in this like predominant activation of any particular brainwave state, it's helping our body do something, achieve some sort of goal, right? In some cases, that is immune function, so healing itself. In some cases, that's decision making, so that active go, like going to figure out the next move, right? Whatever it is our goal is at a certain time, we're going to be in that brainwave state. But because of entrainment and the frequency following response, we can actually participate in that brainwave state modulation and more or less help our body kind of fall into that zone. The cool thing about these audios is that if you kind of do a search around, you'll see that there are different videos on YouTube and on, like Spotify, I don't even know if SiriusXM has its own stations devoted to the brain, but more and more that's becoming popular. You'll find that there are frequencies that are associated with certain brainwave states, and that's because for the most part, these videos or these audios are playing a frequency that actually is the frequency of our neural firing in that brainwave state. So for example, if there's a frequency in a song that's 10 hertz, so that's 10 cycles per second of the firing, that will align with 10 hertz in our brainwave state, which is the alpha brainwave state. And so that'll encourage us to kind of enter into that state, which is a calm, focused state. The one thing that I would love to share is that if you are kind of sifting through, always kind of get a sense of how these make you feel, of course. If you have access to brain sensing technology, you can actually see if it's working for you, or other sort of frequency testing technology. You can get a sense of if your physiology is changing. But one thing that you can more or less rely on is that for the most part, some of the most effective of these audios will be binaural beats. And the reason for that is because we have to undergo an extra step when it comes to binaural beats, and our body kind of responds a little bit differently because of that. It's a little more activated. What happens when you're listening to binaural beats is you've got one frequency coming in one ear, and then a second frequency coming in your other ear. And your brain needs to make sense of this, so it has to very actively figure out a third frequency, right? And there's actually math to this. The math is that your brain will take the frequency in one ear, so say it's 210 hertz in a song, the frequency in another, so let's say 200. And what it does is it takes the difference of the two, in this case that would be 10 hertz, and it starts to entrain with 10 hertz. So it's super cool because, as we mentioned before, that's within the range of our alpha brainwave state, right? This is a way that we can kind of go the extra mile and get our body into processing at a particular frequency so that our brain is more likely to fall into that state. So I think it's super cool science. It's a little bit of basic math. If you're creating these audios and stuff yourself, I think it's so fun. There's so many ways to do that these days. But if you're listening to our channel or just checking out other channels on YouTube, always keep that in mind. That's what's happening to your body as you're listening, and over time it becomes more and more easy for your body to fall into those brainwave states. So yeah, so what do you think about it, Reese? Do you ever use these videos?
Yeah, I've listened to a ton of binaural beats, a ton of solfeggio sounds too. There's this abundant solfeggio sound that I literally hunted down the creator of it, because when I started listening to it, I saw so many changes in my life. I was like, you need to sell this to me. So I bought it like for the commercial license or whatever, and I put it in a lot of my meditations and stuff. But I see such a huge difference from using these types of frequencies. And I also don't listen to a lot of mainstream music because I see a huge difference in my mood if I'm listening to a lot of mainstream music. So I think there's something in there. Can you remind us, if you have it on hand, what each brainwave is associated with each number of hertz?
Yeah, so it'll kind of vary. Like you'll find some overlap with some of them. So when it comes to numbers, I always just kind of hesitate other than to offer them sort of like in order and just say that like anything over 30 hertz will typically take you into that gamma state. So that meditative state, sometimes you'll be in beta. And then anything going down to 1 hertz will take you closer to that deep sleep state, so the delta wave state. And in between, I'd say if you can give yourself a range of about 7 to 8 hertz, you'll find that you'll fall into those like so you'll find, if you search it, you'll find that there's like different breakdowns, but that's essentially how it runs. So you've got gamma, beta, alpha, theta, and delta, and sort of like across that spectrum, you'll find the hertz kind of range. Mm-hmm. So that's a really great question. I always say, like, if you're gonna be watching a video, see what hertz they're talking about. Maybe do that quick math for yourself and get a sense like, where is it that is taking my body? And then just kind of reference it and see how you feel about that. But yeah, for alpha, it'll be kind of in that middle range. And a lot of the videos will be focused on that. There'll be some sleep videos out there that are really, really slowed down, and that'll definitely be in the delta brainwave state range. Mm-hmm. So super cool. And then as far as solfeggios too, just like a funny personal story, solfeggios actually, from my understanding, originate from a lot of really ancient ways of understanding this. So this is something that's been known for quite a while, and the science took, as always, a long time to catch up with it. But Gregorian chants contain a lot of solfeggios, and that's where a lot of our actual scientific understanding came from, because a lot of psychological research in the 1970s originated with the Gregorian chants. And so anyways, there's been times where I'm wearing my own brainwave sensing headband, which I've used for years now. Reese knows I love the Muse. And I will be watching like a YouTube video, and it won't do that much, right, for like my alpha brainwave state. But then all of a sudden, like, I'm just hanging out, just cleaning up, and I'll just have some Gregorian chants going in the background. That's something my mom always played growing up. And all of a sudden, I'm like, I literally just moved into this zone. And so I know that there are certain things that affect us more than others. Wow. And I bet you if I were to sit down and actually look at my brainwave modulation, it probably very quickly gets me into the flow state, right? And so it's super cool to see that and see what kind of works for us, because everyone's different, right? For some of us, like Reese, you might be feeling like super calm most of the day. So you might already kind of be in that state. Some of us might be feeling a little bit more like in that higher energy zone, we need to come down. Some of us, might be kind of chill and we need to come up, right? All of us are different, but it's very cool to see how these frequencies do affect us and kind of use that information as you're going about your day and exploring YouTube. So yeah, I love it.
What would you say, if you know, would be a benefit of using binaural beats versus solfeggio sounds versus, I don't know, like frequency music in general?
Yeah, like when it comes to the sounds, I'm a huge fan of binaural beats because of that extra step we need to take. But for binaural beats to work, you do need to have like a stereo or headphones that are playing lit.
Yeah.
And so if it's like on the go and you're just like in your car and that's not something you have access to, maybe your car's not set up for that, listen to, what you feel might be more aligned with what you're going for, and just know that it's, in general, I think very effective to listen to binaural beats, but you just need the right setup for it. So you need to plan ahead for that. But yeah, huge fan.
Yeah, definitely have to plan ahead. Well, taking all this math in, now my brain hurts.
I know, right? That was unexpected.
Get it?
We
Hurts.
little math. Yeah, hurts. Oh my gosh, cute. I love it.
To say that.
We're so nerdy.
Another interesting thing I saw. Now, I only saw this on Instagram, so I'd have to double check with you for the actual science behind it. But I saw a post that said that Beethoven's something number 5, one of his songs, number 5, was able to kill cancer cells. Have you seen anything about that?
I've heard of, like, not that in particular, but I've heard in general other kind of statements on it. And my take on it is that, you know me, I always love to see the data. I think that each of us are so different that we'll have different needs. And if it happens to meet our need, right, then I think it'll be effective. If there's other things going on, it might not be as effective, but it might in some way still change our physiology. So it wouldn't hurt. In general, this kind of work is known to be very safe and effective. The only place that you'll just want to keep in mind is that we're talking about here like audio sounds. If you're talking about visuals, that's a whole different thing. So of course, like if you're thinking about flashing images, things like that, we do know that that does affect our physiology in a way that we need to be extra safe and careful. But yeah, as far as like healing, we definitely know that certain brainwave states will help induce immune function and help induce healing, but that'll vary for each of us, like I said, based on our individual needs, what our baseline is. So I'd have to see the data on that, but I wouldn't rule out anything. I've heard a lot of good mounting research on sound healing, and I think it all kind of depends on those underlying individual factors. But
yeah, I'll send you the link so we can look it up for
Very
homework. But I can see on Google, like I Googled it, it says, study found Beethoven's Fifth Symphony destroyed 20% of cancer cells in lab tests from a Brazilian research team. But yeah,
let's take a look. Let's
find out, because it was literally an Instagram post. I'm not like trying to quote anything. And then we can put what we find in the comments, if it's real or if it's fake news.
Yeah, I'm very curious. Yeah, but we'll search it up. And yes, maybe we'll talk about it in a future video.
Yeah.
As well.
So wait, what were we going to talk about for next week's video that was kind of overlapping on this topic?
So for next week, I mean, once we got a sense of how this works, we could talk about some of the other ways music in general affects us. So things like you mentioned, like lyrics, all the subliminal like things surrounding music. And I would love to take a look at some of those studies. So maybe we can also use that time to take a look at some of the specific studies that are coming up in our community, maybe on Instagram or TikTok or wherever, where we're talking about, making certain claims. Let's take a look at those and see what the data really says. But I think that'd be super fun for next week. Yeah.
Okay. Well, this was such a fun topic, and thank you for bringing all the science. We all love to learn more about it. So we'll post the links down below. And for anyone who's watching, if you're wanting to implement more science into your coaching, into the work that you're doing, into how you're supporting the people that you work with, this is exactly what we do inside the Yes Apply Method coaching certification. So click down below to find out how to book a call with our team, to find out if it's the right certification for you. And we hope to see you in one of our upcoming cohorts. So thanks so much, Aubrey.
Thank you.